I wanted to ask you about working with showrunners, and in particular, the differences between some of the ones that you've worked with. I guess mainly like Dan, Matt, Liz, and Carly. Who does something super unique on those sets that really stands out to you as far as keeping their overall vision for the show intact?
Ooh, this is a minefield. Okay, well, the first thing that needs to be said as the umbrella statement is Glow is the first show I've been on as number one on the call sheet, essentially the lead of the show. And when that is your role, I would say that one has a very different relationship with their showrunners. So innately, I'm much closer with Liz and Carly. I felt like, I feel like it's sort of hard. I mean, they're all so distinct, so it's actually quite easy to compare everybody, but like, I had a much more personal relationship with Liz and Carly because that's the nature of a number one and their showrunners. And I think that has always been the case. And I observed it on those other shows, with Joel McHale and John Hamm. But Matt Weiner, I think, is notorious for being very specific, and deservedly so. The dialogue, the writing on Mad Men was so incredible. And talk about it being easy to memorize because there's so much going on. There's so much subtext written into every scene. Characters who pop in for one scene have like a ton of backstory going on. Everything carries weight and meaning. So he was, a real stickler for us, saying everything word perfect, word for word. Sometimes even like gestures were written into the dialogue. She puts her hand to her forehead and you better put it to your forehead right then. So that was sort of a different style of kind of trying to go, okay, well, let me make this movement still seem organic, and it should, because it makes a lot of sense for what this character would do. But I loved working for Matt because I love working for someone who knows exactly what they want. And then that you've got this like really self-assured leader. And when you've hit it, they tell you. But Matt, especially in the first few seasons too, Matt was on set a ton. Like he really was always right there, making sure that every single piece was perfect. And then Dan Harmon's the opposite, where we wouldn't see him that much. He was often up in his office, but he had a feed to watch us. So he would sometimes text us notes or things like that. And Dan, Dan has got this crazy genius mind. I think it thrives more in chaos, and he had a much different battle in terms of, I think Matt having the first scripted show for AMC really got a lot of creative freedom, versus Dan Harmon is coming to NBC, who has been doing sitcoms since the dawn of TV, and Dan's trying to push against that and make it something different. So there was a sense of procrastination that I think came out of him not wanting the network to have control over what we were doing. So it just, everything felt a little more frantic, frenetic, chaotic. There were times where Dan would come down and we didn't really have all this, maybe we didn't have the scripts yet for the whole episode, but we had some scenes, and then Dan Harmon would come and kind of give us context and be a little more physical, and it was like a little messier, but it really worked for the type of show we were making. And I think it gave all of us room also to bring our own things to those roles and kind of really bond as a cast and become something else. And Liz and Carly, gosh, I adore those women. I would say Liz and Carly bring so much compassion to everything they do, and it certainly did feel different having that female energy, having two women who were really in tune with every character and really wanted to talk to the actors about how they were feeling about everything. We deal with a lot of tricky subject matters on Glow in terms of, very sort of racist wrestling characters and personas in the ring, and also, to things like women in the workplace and abortion, and a lot of themes, a lot of themes of varying heaviness that we were dealing with. And even in terms of like the nudity on the show, they always would meet with women, or at least phone call beforehand to give you the context of what the nudity was going to be on the scene, which was, I just think I'd never seen it done like that. I've never experienced people who were so attentive and in touch with the entire cast in that way, which was really lovely.